My first property buy is an interesting story. And it wasn't like I read the book and bought a property. She looked at me and she said, listen, if you don't buy this house, I'm going to buy it. Once I founded Money with Mission, once that really became who I was, and my company had another name, and I had a mentor, business coach who helped me get to Money with Mission and the name. And it just really, it's like, okay, this is me. This is who I am. Failing is the way we learn, and you can't fail if you don't try. And so get out there and do it.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Real Estate Investors Club podcast. We have with us today Felecia Froe, part-time surgeon, full-time real estate investor, and full-time CEO, founder of Money with Mission. So somebody who's interested in having dollars with a social impact. Welcome on the show, Felecia.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Axel. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So why don't you just, by way of a start, tell us a little bit about how you got interested in real estate, how you got maybe less interested in your day job?
That's a long story that I'll try to not take up the whole time. So I am a urologist and have been a urologist for just under 30 years. I was saying 20 years for the longest. And I kept thinking, okay, these years are starting to add up. So it's just under 30 now. Went to medical school, did my residency, and those things are a story in and of themselves. And then started practicing. And I practiced not in Canada, but it was cold like Canada to me, in St. Paul, Minnesota. And while I was there, in like the first 5 years of practice, I just had this feeling that this was not the thing I was going to do for the rest of my life. I didn't not like it. I enjoyed it. It was, it was okay, and I could do it, and I felt like I was good at it, but it just didn't feel like the thing, which was kind of scary because I just spent all this time getting to this thing that I thought was my thing, right? So here I am, and I'm start talking to my mom, talk to my dad, talk to all the people in my life who look at me like, are you crazy? You're a doctor. What are you talking about? You don't think you want to do that. What are you going to do? And talk to other doctors, which was not a good idea, because they said, what else can you do? You went to medical school. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. So it took me a long time to get past that kind of mindset and start talking to different people, honestly. We moved from Minnesota because I was tired of being cold to Kansas City, where I started working with some other female physicians. Urology is mostly a male dominated, or has been a male dominated, and it treats male patients. So I was in a group of all men and just felt ununderstood. So moved back to Kansas City, started working with some female physicians who were OBGYNs. We actually bought a building, but even then the real estate part wasn't clicking to me. And then I started working with a woman business person who owned an insurance company. She had actually built an insurance company, and she recommended Rich Dad Poor Dad to me. So I said, okay, Cheryl recommends it. Let me read it. Read that book, and it was like, just the ideas in there, thinking about money differently. And the book is an easy read. It wasn't complicated. It's just very straightforward. And then I started reading all of his other books, and then got interested in real estate. My first property buy is an interesting story. And it wasn't like I read the book and bought a property. I can't remember how much time went by, but 2 years, 3 years went by. And I had been talking to a patient, a young woman who'd come in, and, whatever time her appointment was, she would come. It didn't seem like she had to, come after work or try to come off before work or get off. It's like, what do you do, Jamie? She said, I'm a real estate investor. I was like, interesting. And like they go to Singapore, they were traveling everywhere. So we carried that conversation for a while, and several different visits. She came in, we were talking about it. Then one day I came upon a property, and I called her and asked her if she would go look at it with me. And she did. And it was in this part of town that was up and coming. We walked through the property, and, I'm nervous because, I don't know anything. It's our first thing. She looked at me and she said, listen, if you don't buy this house, I'm going to buy it. And she already owned a bunch. And she said, and if you buy it, we'll let you use our crew to rehab it. If you buy it, rehab it, and can't rent it or don't make money or are losing money, I'll buy it from you. What can I do? Buy the property, right? I mean, she took all the risk out of it. And here's the risk I was taking. It was a VA assumable loan back in 2005 or 6. In the United States, they had these VA loans that you could assume, and I had to pay $500, $500 down to own this property and then pay for the rehab and all that stuff. But I look at that and I'm like, what kind of risk was that? Just why did you even think about that? Just go do it. But that first one was scary. After we did that, we were like all in, dove into deep into the water. And I think over the next 2 years, we bought 18 properties.
Wow.
And just really took off. And it was then I realized, okay, look, once we get all these properties rented, I think I'll be ready to be able to quit. We'll have enough money. With our debts down, I'll be able to quit. So I actually closed my practice and started doing what's called locums, which is temporary work, while my husband was home getting everything ready to go. And then 2007, 2008 happened, and it didn't work out so well. We thought we knew what we were doing, and turned out we were poorly capitalized. It just didn't go well at all for us. So we actually lost all of those properties. And I said, well, if I got to keep doing urology, if I'm going to keep doing this, then I'm going someplace pretty. And we moved to Hawaii.
Nice.
Wow. I'm still trying to warm up from living in St. Paul, Minnesota. I don't know how you guys do it.
Oh, that's nice. That's a really nice introduction. And there's so much to unpack over there, just like from starting with one of your patients who took the time to go visit this house with you, and the moral boost that it is of like, this is a deal. If you don't buy it, I will. And I could just see how that gave you the confidence to start and to get going. So now you described that period that was maybe like 10, 15 years ago. Can we just like fast forward to where you're at now? And then we can kind of go back to understand like what happened in between?
Yeah. So like we lost all our privacy. It was a really bad time. So we lost all our stuff. But to me, it was like, this was not a real estate problem. This was a Felecia problem. This is us not understanding how we should have been situated problem. So this was just, it's kind of like you think and then you realize you don't know. And this was just a painful financial thing. It really was. So decisions were made. And I ultimately had to move back to the mainland because Hawaii was a little bit too expensive for what I was wanting to do. My credit was shot because of losing all those properties. I found a job that gave me a gigantic signing bonus, which is what I was really looking for. So I got this gigantic signing bonus, which let me buy 3 houses for cash that I could get them rehabbed and get back into the game. So that was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago that happened. I got back in and I started learning about real estate syndications. It just was really, really, really increased my education, listening to podcasts, going to seminars, joining inner circles, joining masterminds, just really now in the deep end, not just paddling in the deep end. We're learning how to swim in the deep end. And over time, I did apartment multifamily syndication. I've done a couple other things that just didn't, it was like medicine at the beginning of medicine. It's like, yeah, this is good. I can do it. I can be good at it, but it just isn't doing it for me. There's more. And through the circle that I was in, went to a course on assisted living and how owning assisted living real estate and that business could be very profitable. Plus, just listening to it, you really have an impact on people's lives, not just the people living in your home, but their families, which I'm learning a lot about now, living with my mother who's declining health, but how that can really help a family live better and feel less guilty about about putting their parent somewhere that they're getting the care that they really need. It's really a hard struggle. Mm-hmm. So this is when the social purpose and the social cause really starts, like, oh, this is what my thing is. This is where I'm supposed to be. And it was shortly after that Money with Mission was born. We did buy a property that we renovated and turned into an assisted living home that we still own in Shawnee, Kansas, syndicated that. Another business that's a lot more to it than it seems like. How you take a class, you take a course and you learn and you have these mentors and they tell you all this stuff and then you start doing it and you're like, this is a little more than I got out of that course. So there's been a lot of pivots there too. So now I now live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So once I founded Money with Mission, once that really became who I was, and my company had another name, and I had a mentor, business coach who helped me get to Money with Mission and the name. And it just really, it's like, okay, this is me. This is who I am. And projects just start coming, grocery projects, food desert project, just lots of stuff. And we can get into that in just a minute, but a lot of things that are very, very, very interesting to me that have a really positive impact on the communities that we're in.
Yeah. So that's why we want to hear about that. I'm sure our audience wants to hear about that. So tell us a little bit, you told us the sort of the transition of how you got into doing things that are more impactful, but like when you look at, let's say, your current projects, can you tell us what you're working on and how you see that as an impact investment in the community?
Yeah. So right now, the most recent thing we finished, and I'll get into the things I'm looking at now, is a grocery store in North Tulsa. North Tulsa had not had a grocery store in over 14 years. And there had been a study by the city that showed that the residents of North Tulsa lived 11 years less than the people of the rest of the city. And it's a complicated picture, as you can imagine, but one of the things that you have to say has to be is that there's no food. And by no food, I don't mean there was nothing. You could buy, in my neighborhood, actually, I live in North Tulsa, there are about 14 fast food restaurants in a 2-block radius, 14 of them. And until our grocery store came in that same 2 blocks, there was no place to get anything fresh. You could go to the Quick Trip fast food, the convenience store, and buy canned whatever. And some of them are trying to get some fresh stuff in there, but it was just not good food. So now we have the grocery store, we have the real estate with that. We're running the business and it's doing quite well. And it is, to me, that's a huge impact for North Tulsa and for many people who are helping us to keep the store going. When we first start, business first starts, it's some rough going at first. People have their patterns. They're used to going 5 miles to Walmart. They're used to going however far to whatever store they usually go to. And patterns are now changing. They're coming to our grocery store, full service, has everything you could need. And we're getting there. We're getting there. It's really exciting.
Wow, that's really an interesting transition in terms of the real estate investing and then deciding to go commercial, to open a grocery store and stuff. And just to understand a little bit more about this project, I highly doubt that you're the operator of that. So can you kind of walk us through, like, how did you structure it? Because I doubt that anyone on your team is placing the orders for the carrots and the salads, right?
No, correct. No one on the team is doing it, but we do have one of the members of the team is kind of the overall manager and a manager of the manager, just like we do in our apartment complexes. We manage the managers, right? So we have a store manager who was a manager at a different store before that. He's in there. One of our guys, our guy on our team that's a part of our company, the LLC that owns the store, oversees all that. And he's also really good at, so the store also has a foundation. So he's good at fundraising for that foundation that can help other parts of the city do things. So we have, nobody on our team is ordering carrots and doing all that. We did negotiate the deals with the wholesalers, yes, but we're not in there stocking. Yeah, that's not true. Sometimes we're in there stocking.
But you're not the full-time operator.
I'm not the full-time operator. And when I go in there and something needs to get done, just like we do everywhere else, something needs to get done, you do it. Your employees are working, they're working their butts off. And right now there's some shortages of employees, it seems like. So sometimes you just got to get in there and make it look like you want it to look. I'm not a produce person. I can't get over there and make the produce look pretty, but I can make the cereal boxes look pretty and line them up and get those all looking good.
Oh, that's so interesting. But so how did you, so let's say you got this, maybe an opportunity and you had this idea that like, this is what this community needs, but then how does that turn into, do you partner with someone? How does that turn into like starting a business as well as buying the building?
This was 2 years in the making, if not longer. And we actually I was asked to join a group and I was asked to be the fundraiser. So we started this project, like I said, 2 years ago, and the city kept coming. We actually came here to build an indoor controlled farm. So a hydroponic farm is what we came here for. And then the city said, hey, we need a grocery store. Can you do a grocery store? These other people who were going to do this grocery store have backed out. And the guy who was here looking at all that stuff said, sure, I can do a grocery store. I don't know if he's ever done a grocery store before, but you're just like, sure, we can do that. How hard can it be? Over the next 2 years, we found out how hard it could be, but we got the right people coming on our team. So just like, I have a t-shirt that says, I got this. And the lady who gave it to me, the mentor that gave it to me said, you just say yes, and then figure out, you don't have a clue of how you're going to take care of it, but you'll figure it out if it's something that really aligns with what you want to do, which is for me, like I don't know how this is going to look. I don't know what the structure is going to look like, but to come in and put a grocery store and a food desert, helping people who have no other way of getting that was just aligned with me. And so like, I'm doing it and we'll figure it out as we go. There have been a ton of bumps in this road, a ton of them. The store was opened a year ago today, not a year ago today, a year ago in May will be 1 year. And it's been a ride. It's been exciting. It's still a ride. Just like everything else, nothing is always smooth. Is anything smooth, you guys? I don't think
no.
It's like the smoothness of it is it's got the bumps and the things that are going to come, and you just prepare for them and you learn from them. That's basically what we're doing. And right now we're on this path to do this over and over and over again. Now that we do it, we've got a ton of cities looking for us to come and do the same thing. And what we're tying with it, and what I'm looking to tie with that, is affordable housing. So, people are putting up housing in lots of places, but they don't necessarily think about putting food with that affordable housing. So you make food deserts, because, across the United States, which is where I am, there's a housing shortage. So, and there's an affordable housing shortage. So the homeless population is growing. So I'm looking at affordable housing without creating a food desert. So that's how we're kind of looking at it. And Jim, one of my partners, has got gigantic developers on board with us. And it's a huge project that we're taking on. And I don't know if any of us know all the different pieces of it, but we know our little parts, and the whole thing kind of fits together. It's pretty doggone exciting, I got to say.
For sure. And now I understand a lot more what you were describing at the beginning about how Money with a Mission was created after, and doing some assisted living, bringing some grocery stores, now doing some affordable housing. As you said, that's what creates a community and develops a place where people are happy to live, and they will raise a family, they will find employment, and then there's that snowball effect.
Yes.
And so now, with given the evolution of the company and what you guys have done together, what kind of projects are you looking for in the future?
Okay, so right now, Money with Mission is a part of this whole bigger group, and then Money with Mission has its own thing too, and I have a foundation that's still trying to figure itself out. But for my for-profit company, I'm looking at affordable housing here in Tulsa around this grocery store, and working with another guy who is here in town, a developer who's got a ton of properties. He actually likes to buy single family houses, is what his thing has been, buy single family houses and rehab it and put a family in there, and then teach them how they can buy that property. So he works with them and has a bank work with them to figure out how they can actually ultimately purchase that property, get more homeowners for all the reasons you just talked about. It ties you to the community. It ties you to making things better in your community. You want your whole neighborhood to look good, so you do the things you can do. Just the snowball effect that happens from pride of ownership, or even if you don't end up owning that place, living someplace that's worthy of you living there. I have another friend of mine here in Tulsa who looked at some properties and goes, the sad part is you walk in there and you can see through the cracks outside, and people are actually living in this property. That's not acceptable. And having that kind of landlord and that kind of mentality towards other people, to me, is just completely unacceptable. So that's what we're out to change. There's some boarded up buildings around here in good neighborhoods that can be good investments for people. I'm not talking about investing just for the social impact. We're talking about investing for a financial return and the impact that it can have on that community. So those two things go together for me.
Oh, that's inspiring. And I guess that's like my next question. So, I think when I was on your show a little while ago, we sort of threw this back and forth off camera afterwards. But what kind of advice would you have for someone who wants to do real estate investing, but do it with a view to having some kind of positive social impact? Like, do you have any advice for someone who wants to take that direction?
I think the biggest thing is to decide what impact you want to have. And once you have that mindset, for me, every time I got to the place of, oh, this is what I really want, the things really started to come. Your eyes are just opened. Maybe that's what it is. They've always been there. You just didn't see them. So you figure out what you're aligned with, what impact, what thing do you want to change, or what do you think, what do you want to be better where you live or where you want to invest? And I tell you, those things are going to come to you. And if you can't find them, check out Money with Mission. Give me a call. I'll help you figure that out. I know a ton of impact projects, a ton of people running really good impact projects too, that can align with most people in some way.
Yeah. And it's very inspiring to hear you say that, because a lot of people starting in real estate, like, oh, I just want to do residential and I want to have a good return and cash flow and appreciation and all those benefits that we all know. And many people, and I've been actually surprised, are like, no, I'd like to have an impact. Like, I'd love to do a daycare. I'd love to do an old folks home. I'd love to do, all these things, but sometimes we just don't know how. And I find it connects to what you said earlier about, like, just say yes. You have no idea what you're doing, but you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And that's really in the mindset. And you seem to be really strong on that. So kind of like, I was going to say, what happened, or how did you develop this mindset? Because a lot of people, if they don't know exactly how they're going to do it, they're just going to say no because they feel like it's something that's unattainable.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I am that person who started out like, if I don't know how to do it, then how am I going to do it? And I don't really know exactly when that happened. And maybe it was buying that first property and having Jamie support me through that. And I didn't know what I was doing and just kind of walk you through. Because I have found over the course of my life now that whenever you don't know what to do, if you ask, there's somebody out there who knows how to help you, or who can get you to somebody who knows how to help you. And that network, that's the hugest thing. People who are isolated and want to do it by themselves, or think they have to do it by themselves, have the hardest road to go. Those will be the people who say, no, I can't do it because I don't know how. But if you have a network and you know people, and you're not afraid to let people know that you don't know, then you have no problems. Get out there and do what you want to do. That's my biggest learning in my life. I got to tell you, I didn't get the network thing when I first went to medical school. It was, you just do your thing. And the A students, the people like me, engineers, we're kind of those people who think you got to know how to do everything and take forever to get anything done because you want to understand it completely yourself before you do. I tell all the people that I run into like that, get over yourself. Terry and I were talking about a friend, Billy. We both tell each other, get over yourself, just start doing it and you'll figure it out how to go, because we are both, I want to understand it before I do it.
Fail forward.
That's a big thing though. A big thing is because the in medicine, you are taught failure is not and just imagine if you fail, if you make a mistake, it's huge. It has big consequences and they happen all the time. And we learn from them, but we forget that part. We forget that there's the learning part of making that mistake, even in medicine. In real estate investing and all these other things we do in our life, from walking and riding a bike to everything else, you make a mistake before you get it right. And if you get it right the first time, you got lucky. End of conversation to me. You just got lucky. So failing is the way we learn, and you can't fail if you don't try. And so get out there and do it.
Yeah.
So like super inspiring, Felecia, super inspiring. So I don't know, Axel, if you don't have any other questions, I might just kick it back to you, Felecia, and say, is there something that you want to share with our audience kind of by way of conclusion, some golden nugget?
I think I just did.
Not to put you on the spot.
Get out there and do it. If you are looking to invest and you want to invest in, so if multifamily is your thing and you are providing housing to people, that's an impact. That is a positive social impact. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be putting grocery stores in food deserts. It can be buying an apartment building that's not been running well, that's been had crappy landlords, and making it run well for people who can afford it. And imagine the ripple effect of that person able now to not have to worry about their house. I got someplace to live and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I do have a gift for your listeners. I have my ebook called Creating a Legacy or Creating Wealth That Outlives You. And they can get that by going to legacy@moneywithmission.com and we can get that to you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I hope all the listeners go over there, go check out the website, and go support Money with a Mission. Not only will you learn, but you'll also be contributing to a good cause. So thank you very much for joining us today. As Terry said, it's very inspiring to hear your story and see how it is possible to pivot in one's professional life and hone in on the mission that we feel is important and contribute back to society and to at least our local community. So thanks for sharing that with us today.
Thank you guys so much for letting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.